I definitely feel a change happening in the air with summer. I can actually feel it in my body, like my throat's changing a little bit, the chemistry, like my body's like reacting to a shift, a seasonal shift that's happening. Like I can feel it. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh Lord. Okay, let's do it. If you're in your 40s asking yourself, how do I reinvent my life? I need you to know something. So oftentimes our society paints it as having a crisis, right? A midlife crisis, a midlife breakdown. But what if it's not a breakdown? What if it's actually a breakthrough? And what if everything you've been told about starting over at 40 is a lie? Society wants you to believe that your best years are behind you, that 40 marks the beginning of decline, that reinvention is for people still trying to figure out life in their teens, in their 20s, and definitely before 30. But here's what they often don't tell you, that most powerful transformations, and actually the most powerful ones that I've seen personally, happen precisely because of age. They happen because of experience. They happen to lived in experiences and lived in bodies. They happen because women have reached 40, 50, beyond. Not despite of that, right? Your anxiety, that restless feeling that something needs to change, what if these aren't signs of failure? They're actually signs of success and a need to expand upon that success. A sign that you've lived into a certain messaging, a certain experience, and that there's something about it that's left you wanting more, needing more. What if that feeling, right? These anxious feelings, the need to look back at your life and recognize and see that maybe there needs to be more. What if that actually is an important message that you need to hear and that you need to act upon? Hi, I'm Keisha Dent, and I am a certified hypnotherapist. And right now, I want to talk about midlife women and that need for reinvention. Right now, you might see yourself as someone who's too old to change, someone who's wasted too much time. That's a big one. I certainly can relate to that. Someone who should just accept what is and who sees it as too risky to bring in what you actually really desire, or even to think about it or face it. But imagine being the kind of woman who wakes up excited about her purpose instead of dreading another dry, meaningless day where you're not living into your purpose. Imagine being the kind of woman who makes decisions from soul alignment, from living into who you're meant to be, rather than from pure obligation. Imagine being the kind of woman who looks at her reflection in the mirror and sees wisdom, sees power, sees potential, sees possibility, instead of all the regret, all the past choices that you wish you could change. Imagine being someone who creates a legacy that makes you proud, that matters, instead of just getting through each and every week. And that woman, that person, it isn't just some fantasy. What if that's who you're actually becoming? What if that's who you actually are inside? And that voice, that unhappiness, that anxiety is trying to speak to her. Here's the truth nobody's telling you about midlife reinvention. Your first 40 years, they were just preparation. They were just the warm up. So you've gathered skills, you gathered wisdom, you gathered life experience, right? That 20-year-olds just simply don't possess, and they can't possess. You know what you don't want, and that's invaluable. That's clarity. You've done seeking approval from others. You've done that whole thing, trying to fit in, trying to please other people, trying to impress other people, right? That belongs to youth. You understand the value of time in ways that younger people just really can't. What if that emptiness you're feeling is hunger, inner hunger? What if it is your inner voice, your soul, pressing and pushing against the confines of a life you've outgrown? And for that restless energy that you feel, what if that is your authentic self, demanding to be born, demanding to be heard? This is why traditional approaches often fail. They treat your midlife awakening as a mental health crisis instead of recognizing it as the initiation, as the transition that it really is. They often seek to just medicate or put a band-aid on discomfort instead of listening to the message. They focus on managing symptoms instead of facilitating the identity work and the identity transformation that's trying to happen, that's trying to emerge. Most women at 40 feel lost, invisible, like they're running out of time. They wake up with dread, wondering, is this all there is? They look in the mirror and they don't recognize themselves anymore. They feel guilty for wanting more when they should just be grateful, right? And the women who embrace their midlife metamorphosis, they wake up with fire in their belly instead of heaviness in their chest. They make decisions with confidence because they finally know who they are. They create the second half of their lives with such intention that when they reach 80, they look back with satisfaction instead of regret. They become the women their younger selves dreamed of being, but never had the courage to become. Which do you want to be? I know who I want to be. And speaking of, I guess it is time to tell a bit of my story. So I wasn't always a hypnotherapist. I wasn't always doing the work that I am doing currently. And initially, I assumed and always thought that I would have the typical 9 to 5 corporate job, go do the thing, climb the ladder, and this and that. And one day, I realized that it wasn't working. It wasn't making me happy. It wasn't satisfying me. And when I would look forward to where I would end up and where it would eventually lead me, I realized that all I saw ahead of me was a graveyard. And that the only thing that awaited me was dissatisfaction, under-earning, not being enough, not feeling enough, not making enough, and also just kind of being stressed out for a very little pittance amount of money, working for someone that I don't even freaking like. I just saw this playing out ahead of me in the future. And I realized that I needed to take a different path for me. It was so, so important. And especially the fact that I realized this too, I wasn't young, right? I realized that I was on the wrong track and that I was heading towards mental and spiritual and energetic disaster was when I was north of 35, which I consider the mid-30s actually the true beginning of midlife, in my personal opinion. I believe that we begin to transition and leave youth behind, or if we feel the pressures of that beginning in our mid-30s. I think there's something that goes on there energetically, biologically at that time. And it was at that point that I began to experience panic attacks. I started just bouncing around with jobs, and every job, shocker, was exactly the same as the one before. It was all underwhelming. It was all disappointing. It was all just trash wages, working for people that did the range from okay to complete. I can't stand this person. I would never, ever, ever want to be in a relationship with this person. I can't, and I don't want to, this is not my ride or die. This person is not it, So I knew eventually that I had to do something different and I had to change. And throughout all of this, I also began to experience panic attacks. I began to struggle with my anxiety. And this actually led me, in my search for meaning and my search for another path, it led me to the work that I'm doing now. It led me to a lot of things. It led me to being able to embrace my spiritual side and understanding it's a huge part of me that I've neglected through following Christianity, which for me had extremely problematic and caused a lot of problems for me. And I had to leave that. I began to redefine my own relationship with spirituality that included working with tarot, astrology, and one of the biggest pieces that brought me back home to myself was also finding hypnotherapy. It helped me in ways that even traditional therapy was okay. I tried that. That didn't work well for me. In the end, it didn't really create the change that I wanted for me personally. And also medication was something that would turn the feelings off. But I am someone who loves my emotions. I need my emotions are part of me. And if you take that out, I am not who I am anymore. So that was not a solution also. So I need to find a solution. And this is where hypnotherapy led me. And it answered so much of my quest for meaning. And it also helped me to ignite and rediscover what midlife in the second half of my life was going to look like. And not only did it work wonderfully for me personally, I became obsessed and I immediately wanted to bring this to the world. And years after the fact, I was able to do that because I love what I do. And I studied and got my certifications and just got to work because I'm a huge believer in this methodology and what it can do. And this work that I do is the foundation of what I call the midlife metamorphosis method, which uses hypnotherapy to treat your midlife crossing as the initiation and the transition that it truly is, to create space for your authentic self to finally emerge. So here's my question for you. What dreams have you been carrying that are desperate to be birthed into the second half of your life? If something in this message resonated with you, definitely drop a comment below and tell me what's one thing you do differently if you knew it wasn't too late. And if you're ready to explore your own midlife metamorphosis, definitely check it out. I put a link in the description where you can learn more about how we can work together. Your story isn't ending at 40. It's just beginning to get interesting. It's just getting juicy. So definitely, if you like this content, if you want to learn more, definitely feel free to let me know what you'd like to hear about. And don't forget to subscribe if this spoke to you in any way. All right, I will see you in the next video. I'll be making more content about this. And remember always that in order to change your life, you must first change yourself. Thank you so much. My name is Keisha. I'm a certified hypnotherapist, and I will talk to you soon. Take care.